everybody, welcome back to Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This is session 121, and we are ready to play, so let's jump into a bit of a recap. Previously, in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, the party found themselves under attack by rotten masses of vegetation. It seemed as though the very swamp itself had risen up against the party. Early on in the conflict, Matashtai was apprehended by one of these swamp creatures and grievously wounded. But Ezrah was able to rescue him and teleport the monk up onto a ledge with bones.
What the fuck? What are we talking? Who got grievously wounded? What the fuck happened?
Matt almost died to the fucking plant things several times.
I had no memory of that.
Several moments and quite a bit of experimentation with magical elements later, the shambling mounds were little more than rotting heaps of plant matter.
More wine. More wine.
After this, the party searched the body of the fallen dwarf that Bones had found, discovering a journal and a few valuables. The party then headed south along a twisting passage where the swamp became troublingly deep before leveling back out. This path eventually swung eastward, letting the party out into a large cavern with a 50-foot high ceiling, the highest they had yet seen here in the Slither Swamp. Nestled upon an island here were ruins built from a black material. Further investigation revealed an unmarred statue of a large serpent eating its own tail. Curious, the party moved forward, but as they did, an apparition appeared upon the isle, clad in ghostly plate armor. The group steeled themselves, expecting something, but the apparition ignored them entirely. The figure continuously muttered to itself, and Ezrah was able to interpret these ramblings. It seemed as if the figure searched for something, a fang, and it seemed convinced that finding this item was the only way to release it from its nightmare. After some investigation and thought, Ashes and Ezrah determined that the statue and this place might be dedicated to the ancient primordial Dendar the Night Serpent, a creature that consumed nightmares. Ezrah was certain that this was something best left alone. Unsure of what else they could do, or even if they should do anything else, the party left to continue their exploration. They found a passage back the way they had come, discovered an ambushing force of ghasts and destroyed them, found a serene cave within the heart of the Slither Swamp, and then eventually headed back to the entrance of the level to await their meeting with Zartem. This involved some resting, harvesting of the gassed corpses, and eventually, several hours later, Zartem arrived. The party immediately questioned why the mage had come here. He said that he had tried to divine the best way to leave the dungeon, but that his attempts had been thwarted and redirected by something here, on the Slither Swamp. He had come here to find out what, and had discovered something more dangerous than all the factionalism the party was dealing with. When the party asked about this mysterious thing, Zartem seemed suddenly cagey, unwilling to speak on the subject. Eventually, though, he turned to the party and asked, "What do you know about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone?" And that is where we... Say what?
What was the name again? The what in the Pandemonium Stone?
What do you know about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone?
Limbo. Okay.
I hear that's the current raid in Final Fantasy XIV.
Limbo or the Pandemonium Stone?
Yes.
Pandemonium.
Okay, so...
Limbo and Pandemonium are lower realms. But that's me knowing this, not Ezrah, probably.
So Zartem... actually, hold up. I've moved you guys on over to this edge. Let me click on some mosaic. So Zartim has turned to you all. You're up on this little 15-foot ledge overlooking the Slither Swamp. Zartim has turned to you and just kind of like asked, what do you know about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone?
Jeremy, Jeremy, what does Ezra know about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone?
What do you? So, what do you think Ezra knows about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone? Do you think that's something he might have covered in his random studies? And if so, we can make a history check. If you think not, then we can do like a history at disadvantage. And if you think, yeah, very, very much not, then nothing.
How common is knowledge of the lower realms?
So there are lots of different concepts of existence and the way existence works, and the cosmologies, etc., etc. There are various different takes, but the study of the various different concepts of cosmology and the existence of everything is a very common study. You're not gonna have random tavern conversations, right, in your small town about them, but every big city probably has a handful of learned individuals that, make the study of cosmology their business. So in a place like Waterdeep, you would absolutely have access to tons of different stories and research items and ideas about all the various different realms and why they're important and why this particular person thinks this realm is the most important, that type of scenario. So, yeah.
There's a chance I came across something, but cosmology, yeah, it isn't really a primary focus. So...
It's not Ezra's shtick.
I mean, it's interesting, but he's got his prerogative.
Sure. So, are you saying that out loud to Zartim, or are you saying that to me in the concept of like
to you and trying to understand if
so I
where
think,
on the scale
I think
of...
in that scale, it's the concept of like a history check with disadvantage, right? Like it's possible, it's interesting stuff, but it's not something you've actively sought out, 21. So very good.
Wow.
So. Yeah, I would say, generally speaking, Ezra, just because he likes researching, he likes reading, he likes studying things, right? Ezra has a basic understanding of most of the different cosmological designs, right? That being, there's a couple of different versions, but the main ones are the Great Wheel cosmology, and then the World Tree cosmology, and then the world axis cosmology are kind of like the big three. The Great Wheel being the concept of like the material plane and like the elemental planes being the core with the outer planes all around. The world tree cosmology being this, great growth where there's just realms all along the place. And then the world axis being kind of akin to the Great Wheel, but in a balancy kind of way. It's a very interesting, strange mixture. It's kind of like the least common of the three, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But of that, Ezra, you're at least vaguely familiar with all of the different main realms, right? And their generalized alignments or conceptual like main purposes, right? Like the concept that Mechanus is right the plane of absolute law, right?
Order.
Yeah, sure. And in that kind of concept, off the top of your head that Limbo is that opposite, right? Limbo is the plane of absolute chaos, right? Not necessarily a good chaos or an evil chaos, just pure and utter chaos. Pandemonium, on the other hand, is typically aligned with bad things, bad chaos, right? But the two generally are considered separate things, and this concept of like a Pandemonium stone wouldn't ring a bell off the top of your head. Anybody else interested in potentially? Does anybody else have a background in cosmology?
How about you give us the
Is it
short
made of
version?
bone?
No? Okay, gotcha.
So Jeremy, when he talks about it, does it sound like he's talking about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone, or Limbo and Pandemonium's
Well, so
stone?
he hasn't said anything else aside from just asking you very specifically the question, what do you know about Limbo and the Pandemonium Stone? That's all he has said. So your guess is as good as mine in this particular case.
Well, Limbo's a place. So is Pandemonium, I think.
Zartem kind of like nods at you, right? And he kind of like side eyes you, Ezra, right? In kind of like a not a malicious way, but kind of like a Ezra, roll an insight check for me, actually.
Demon. He's a
Joy,
demon.
this is gonna go well. Oh, hey, I actually have proficiency with insight. 22.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice roll. But it's been a while, Jake, but you're rolling well. He gives you the side eye. He gives you the side eye, not in a malicious or suspicious kind of way, but in kind of like this like you're the one to watch out for kind of way. Like he suddenly like he reassesses his opinion of you on the fly, basically. Like, so he kind of like gives you this like squint and a nod, and he says, yes, both Limbo and Pandemonium are places. But in this case, I'm just speaking of the former, not the latter. Limbo is a place of pure chaos. It is not conducive to the material realm. Things that are from it, when they get stuck here for too long, they tend to warp existence around them. They're that chaotic. I believe this spawning stone to be a sliver of a greater creation from Limbo.
Is the spawning stone and the Pandemonium Stone one and the same?
Not the same. I believe this spawning stone of the Blacktongue tribe is a shard of the Pandemonium Stone.
What led you to that belief?
Cosmology is something of a specialty of mine. When I attempted to divine my way out of Undermountain, and I found my attempts thwarted and redirected here, I investigated. And by allying myself with this Yerk, I was able to
The jerk.
gain special privileges and authority. It allowed me to get close to the spawning stone and I'm trying to think of like the terminology he uses. I'm not sure I know exactly what kind of terminology he would use,
okay.
but when he says it, Ezra, it's basically like experimenting with it magically, right? Like in a manner as like detect magics and identifications and questings and arcane focus, etc., etc. So he basically just like magic checks the thing, right? Like is what he's talking about. So he uses a bunch of like technical lingo that you would be familiar with, Ezra. But it all sounds very like hoity-toity compared to the rest of it.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's all very, like I said, like very specific jargon and lingo, right? That is a little like above normal conversation.
What is this sliver of the Pandemonium Stone providing to Yerk and his followers?
I don't know.
Well, we talked about that before, didn't we?
Well, the spawning stone is the source of
Okay.
their
So there are
replication.
far too many stones. Is the spawning stone also the sliver of the Pandemonium Stone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Your intelligence is showing, Ashes.
Well, let's see.
Damn.
My intelligence is currently
Currently, I like to point out currently, because it has been lower.
it has.
At least you didn't get knocked unconscious because you became so dumb.
So you didn't get intellect devoured.
I think I did actually. It was a little bit later.
Yeah, Ashes did at a different point.
Uh,
I got
the
you
dumb
guys
too.
twice! Anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zartum looks at you and he says, the Black Tongues believe their tribe comes from the spawning stone, but bullywugs reproduce naturally all over the world. They don't need some special stone to reproduce. This is not a natural scenario.
real quick, on time out before I put my foot in my mouth.
Sure.
Croaker guy, what's his name again?
Colt.
Super
Colt.
Croak.
Yes. So Colt told us that.
Colt told you.
Okay,
Colt-
that's what I
yeah.
wanted to confirm.
Colt had
Was that
these
in the
private,
Mind Palace?
yeah. Colt had the in the Mind Palace conversation with you about what the spawning stone was to the Black Tongue tribe, and that how it was this replicating thing, right? That it was basically their souls replicating into new bodies, etc., etc. And Zartum does not seem to be talking of. I mean, it's the same thing, but Zartum's not talking about that situation. Zartum's like, I don't understand why the fuck they care about this thing, you know, right? Like,
Got it. Okay. Got it. I just wanted to double check that before I said
Yeah.
something that I
Yep.
probably shouldn't say.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Then while they're talking, I would reach out to each of the guys and say, I might have more information about the stone, but we'll talk about it later.
Ezra has like a spark of electricity that just
Okay.
instead of an actual like jump shock, there's an actual shock.
Nice. Okay,
Alright,
so
then.
Zartum's a little like,
Well, Zartum, what's your goal down here? Before we showed up, what were you planning to do with Yerk or the stone or?
well, I was unsure.
Oh,
I just came down here to investigate originally. After I found the damn thing, well, I realized it's dangerous to just leave here. So, I was trying to figure out what to do, how to get it away, how to get it out of this place, and then hopefully banish it or destroy it.
then it is agreed. The stone must be destroyed.
Sounds like the biggest wizard lie I've ever heard in my life.
Right? I mean, are we all like, this dude wants the stone for unlimited chaotic power, right? Yeah.
Unlimited power!
Yeah, I would. At the mention of that, I would kind of mention, well, it seems important to them, and I don't know that you can confirm it's doing anything bad to them. So why should we destroy it right away?
I'm not saying it's doing anything bad to them. I'm saying it's bad news. They're unnatural. They're far more powerful than any bullywug tribe has any right to be. What happens 10 years down the road when they turn into monstrosities?
Okay, hold on. Any right to be, so he's just straight racist.
Well,
Okay.
Does Bones say that?
Well, That's not
It
exactly
feels
the
like a
vibe
need
he's
for
giving off.
stones.
He's basically saying that they're like, and he said this previously in a conversation with you guys. I think this conversation actually, right? At the start of this or at the end of last session. But basically, like, every single one of these bullywugs is like stronger than your average soldier in the Waterdeep military, right?
Yeah, but
Even than Mandius?
So
No,
so
Myth 11?
Zartem is saying
And
like
why?
his concern is what if this continues and 10 years from now each of the Black Tongue Bullywugs is like a CR10 adventurer, you know? Like
Yeah,
Right. How would
can
you
understand
destroy
that being-
something that came from or is inherently tied to Limbo, a land of
destroy
chaos?
or banish.
Banish. Right.
Stone doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
and-
destroyed. I just don't think it should stay here.
Well, I mean,
I
you're
really
making
feel like
kind of
we're getting
assumptions here about
misdirected
the
here. I don't really
bullywugs.
care about the damn stone. I care about Yerk.
Right. Well, I'm thinking if we
Sure.
can get the stone, surely. So here, the long
Again,
play-
Why are we worried about the stone right this second? It doesn't
I'm
seem
not.
to be having any adverse effects to them now.
He is
because
worried.
it is a boon that they have that is keeping this like three-way war going. I feel like if we can maybe get the stone, we might be able to tip the scales one way or another. But that's like the long play because that doesn't do anything immediately. It just stops them from like respawning more units.
Doesn't that tip the scale away from the way we want it, though?
I mean, no, it tips it. See, now that's the problem because
Yerk
like
has
yeah,
control of it right now.
right.
Well-
Yerk has it right now.
Yerk
but
doesn't
if we-
have it. It's in kind of like a shared location, but Yerk is taking the younglings that are spawned from it, right? And then indoctrinating them into his side, basically.
Okay.
Right. So if we take that piece off the map,
I'll be honest, I don't really care about the stone until we get rid of Yerk.
Zartan, so are you guys having this conversation, or is this like...
hold on.
Or
Before
is
we
this all
start
meta?
saying out loud, the guy that's actually working for Yurt, we talk about usurping Yurt.
That's
maybe we don't
what
say
I'm
it out
asking.
loud.
Are you guys... is this a meta conversation, or is this a in-character conversation?
Right now, I am intending this to be out of character.
As Matt is about to
I was in
again
character,
put
but-
foot in mouth, Zartan, how dedicated to Yerk are you?
Not.
Insight check.
Roll,
I mean,
if you
yeah,
guys
I would
want, roll
actually
insight
like
checks.
to-
He answered way too quickly.
He's been
16?
here one day. How could he be that dedicated?
He's been here for a couple of days.
Ashes. Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's lying when he says not,
No.
right? It doesn't. It's not like a he says it so fast he must be lying. He had that prepared, right? No, like he seems genuine when he says not. So he doesn't seem dedicated to Yerk. Matashtai, much like Bones with his freakishly high passive perception, you have a freakishly high insight because you got another person whispering in
lady?
your ear. So, because you always have advantage on insight, right? Okay, so, at first you're just like, yeah, okay, he seems like he's telling the truth, but then you hear in the back of your mind, you hear Valena's voice, right? And she says, hold on. Now, I don't disbelieve him, but there's definitely something else.
It's like you disbelieve
He-
him.
He doesn't He's not dedicated to Yerk, but he's tied to him somehow.
Like, actually, like
I don't know. He might not care if Yerk lives or dies, but there's some sort of familiarity there aside from just, oh, my new boss.
Okay. Hey, Zardom, how does he indoctrinate the young bullywugs? You like just take him to bullywug boot camp and they just learn about how great Yerk the Jerk is, and
Nothing quite so overt. It's just, well, bullywugs age relatively rapidly. Only a few weeks from spawning until they are capable of fending for themselves, at least, if not actually fighting. A few months and they're full grown. But Yerk just makes sure that the lion's share of the spawnings are, well, cared for by followers of Yerk. Why do you ask?
because I mean, clearly tensions are high. What's Yerk doing to make tensions high?
Well, he treats those that have not come over to his side poorly. They get less food, less rations, less good conditions, and they're sent on the most dangerous missions. If there's a fight, they're in front.
Where's his title come from? The fetid obliteration.
Perfect. Nailed it.
Zartum kind of like chews his lip a little bit before he responds to you. It's just like a nervous tick or something like that, right? Like he just like makes a little worrying motion. And then he says, it seems he came with the title. I don't know everything about the whole situation. I've only been here for a bit. But he seems to have some sort of necrotic powers. The fetid obliteration, I would assume, is some fancy alliteration for swamp plant killer.
Alright.
Roll an insight check, Matashtai. Everything that he just said seems honest, right? But it also seems disparaging, and it feels, the way that Zartum is saying it, that he's having difficulty making it sound disparaging. Like he is affecting his speech in such a way that, like he's trying to talk smack at Yerk, or talk down about Yerk's abilities or powers or something like that, right? But he's not pulling it off. There is something envious about his tone, perhaps?
That's power. Yerk wouldn't get caught in a octobase.
Wow, what the fuck?
I mean,
Wouldn't he though? How do we know?
I don't think
an
Zartum
octobase-
got caught in an octobase. I think, you know.
I mean,
If
an
we wanted to
octobase
have
is
a-
made out of wood. Wood is a plant matter. Yerk is apparently the king of plant matter, so
I
you
guess
know.
that's true. That is sound logic right there.
So,
Point A to B to C.
Zartan,
Go
let's say that we were to work together. To what ends? Well, I guess a better question is, what would you have us do if we were to agree to some kind of alliance?
Wait, what?
Well, personally, I think we need to get the stone and get it out of here.
I mean,
But
you've
you
been
all
around it,
seem very fixated on other specifics, so if need be, I will assist you as best I can so that you can do what it is you feel is necessary, and then I can remove the stone from this place and have it dealt with.
Yeah.
Were you over there like, dealt with?
out of character. Just seen a deepening.
And if we find out that the stone is good and helpful to the bullywugs and not gonna make them evil, you fine with letting them keep it?
There is no way that this thing will be good. It might not harm them necessarily, but it is a thing of pure chaos. And if left here for long enough, it will warp existence around it. Feasibly turning this into a pocket of limbo itself, if powerful enough and if for long enough.
And you got this all from a dream.
Oh, what? Dream? What are you talking about, dream?
You said you had a premonition, and...
I used divination magics. It looks at you like he's like affronted, right? Like you're calling into question his utilization of the arcane, right?
You want to know how many divination spells Ezra knows?
Like none. I used divination magic and was redirected here, and then once I was here, I studied it.
Right. So, and I turned to everybody else.
Kind of glares, side eyes at Ezra now. Like he was like maybe liking the other mage over there, but now he's all like,
Mage feud.
disparage my arcane school specialty.
So when we were talking to Pulp, did he mention how long the spawning stone had been down here? Has it always they've been down here a year, right? Was the stone here before they were brought here? Did he mention it?
I do not say anything, but then I say in your mind, I'm not comfortable talking about that around other people.
I think Jay is talking out of character right now.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if not right, that's also fine. Like,
If I remember and understand correctly, the spawning stone was with them prior to being brought here. Because the spawning stone has been a part of their tribe for a very long time.
Very long time.
I
now understand why you were like so hesitant to agree to doing anything with the stone. Okay.
If we're doing a out of character moment,
Yeah.
we hold off on dealing with the stone because it is important.
Yeah, big agree.
We-
I'm not convinced it's good.
Yeah.
But I'm also not prepared to stab our newfound allies in the back and take away this stone that's been important to their tribe for maybe 10 years. I don't know how long a bullywug life is, or maybe 150. I have no idea.
I'm just like, but we're in a good situation right now because we have a guy on the inside, and we should be able to.
So
Yeah.
obviously this is not top priority. We got other shit to deal with. I want time to study this item, and
Well,
until that happens, I have zero interest in letting this clown walk away with it. If
Well,
at all
we can't do any of
afterward.
that, so let's get down to brass tacks, and this is in character. All right, so how you gonna help us?
What do you want to do? What is
How's it
your
controlled
what
now?
is your objective?
Could you get
Well,
us in to talk with Yerk?
Yes.
How's he control the Hydra?
I don't know.
Have you seen
Good.
the Hydra?
Yes.
Is it there with him at all times?
It is within his what fucking word would I use here?
Proximity.
Vicinity?
It's within his
Domain.
domain, right? Like it's in his cave, right? Like it's in the place where Yerk lives.
The place I know.
Well, here's the
Alright.
thing, right? So the fact that we have spoken with the Black Tongues is not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe we could have a conversation with Yerk and it'd be like, hey, I know about your scourge problem, and see if there's a little bit more information we can get.
Yerk will absolutely meet with you. He is very confident in himself, and he would likely wish to use your services either weakening these scourges or taking over the rest of the Blacktongue tribe. What? And Zartan, he says that. He says it matter-of-factly, not like with a spin. He just says it, right? And he sees all of y'all's faces, and then he just... I have no preference. Just telling you that he will likely want to use your services for one of those things.
My expectation, if we go to meet Yerk, is that we meet and we're allowed to leave without interference. An audience is an audience, and if that is not guaranteed and things take a unfortunate turn, you might be called into reserves.
I can guarantee you safe entry to meet Yerk. And if you choose, if this is the route that you want, I can make sure that a bulk of Yerk's forces are occupied elsewhere during this meeting.
The Hydra.
I can... How am I supposed to take the Hydra that Yerk commands off on an adventure?
First of all, don't take that tone with me. And
You
second of all,
don't take that tone with me.
And second, I don't know, gate it off, put it to sleep, do wizard things.
You do wizard things.
I'm not a
Because
wizard.
You can't put to sleep, just as a fun fact.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
Zardan, do you know anyone else who might have more information about the Hydra in Yerk's little inner circle?
In Yerk's inner circle, there's only Torbit that ranks above me at this point. Yerk does not have confidence in members of the tribe. They're tools to him. He uses them and discards them as he sees fit.
Okay.
I have unique abilities, and so am of some interest. And Torbit as well, though I think Torbit is more morbid fascination than, well, the fact that he's basically betraying those he grew up with.
Yeah, we heard about him.
Right.
Yerk is not the type to have confidants. Lord of fetid obliteration and all that.
Yeah, that's fair. Two questions real quick. So, the Hydra, you've seen it, right? You're not just like, you know it's in there, you have seen it.
I have stood before Zetlal, yes.
You see any manacles, shackles, collar, anything that might be some sort of magical binding, something majigger?
The creature is not bound by any physical thing that I have seen.
Okay.
I like where you're going, though.
So, I mean, Ezra, you know a little bit more about magic, but to me that seems either coercion or magic then. He's got
Could,
something or threatening something.
it
that-
could be religious or cultural too. That we know so little about these creatures and their. They worship this creature not only as family but almost as a demi-deity. It seems like this is family but more than.
Zartum kind of shrugs and he
I
says,
do, like,
more
have that
guardian
level of-
than a deity. Like
That's fair.
Ancestor spirit or something like that.
Yeah, this has old magics or old beliefs tied to it. I don't. Could it be magical binding or magical coercion? Of course, but
Well, I'm saying it might not even be magical coercion. It might be, I don't know, hell, if you don't protect me, I'll kill the croaker guy or whatever. I don't know. Kill the new generation. Maybe the Hydra's working with him to protect the tribe the way it always has.
Zartum just kind of shrugs and throws up his hands like,
I'm going to be honest. At least what little I know about hydras in natural elements, they're not the brightest of creatures. They're more beasts of the predators.
Hell, it's got 8 heads more than me. I'm sure it's smarter than me.
It's not hard,
Bones,
but,
Bones, roll me a nature check.
Or I'm beastie as hell. I know all about beasts.
Well, not just specifically because you're beastie, but because of where you are originally from. Toril being kind of like the world of dragons. Hydras are adjacent, and there are way more hydras just slopping around Toril than there
Did you say,
or
a nature
Aber.
check?
Right? Sorry, Aber, not Toril. The other way
yes,
around.
he said nature.
Say
Yeah, nature check.
Survival.
Yeah. Nature check.
All right. 18.
18. Yeah, I mean, what Ezra's kind of saying, right, makes sense. Most you and your I don't know, we haven't really discussed this terribly much, right? Your previous clan, compatriots, tribe, whoever it was that you actually lived with when you were back on the other world before the merging, right? You have seen in the wild probably a half a dozen or more hydras. Generally left alone, right? Because they're tricky creatures to deal with. But they are kind of like dragons in the concept that the older they get, the more intelligent they get, the wiser they get, etc., right?
I'm smart boys.
It's just they're not like pure dragons, so they don't have that same, you know, they are not as refined from a starting point, and they don't scale as quickly, kind of conceptually, right? Like if that makes any sense from a mechanical standpoint. So but the idea of like a really old one, from your experience, Bones, a really old one could be pretty smart and have like a very strong, almost draconic-like personality, right?
Okay. How old is that wall again? Does anybody know? This is in character.
Don't know.
He's been with the tribe for generations, if I remember what.
Yeah, but aren't there generations like 5 days?
No, they're not gnats.
No. I think general like conceptual bullywugs live almost as long as humans, generally speaking. They just have a different like life cycle, right? They
hit
mature
adulthood a little faster.
Yeah, they mature way faster, basically. Like they don't, you know, they don't have the same type of protection. They don't get the they don't have the luxury of being babbies for several years, you know, in their types of societies. So
Honestly, I'm feeling like if we could have an audience with Yurg, that would probably give us a lot more context to make a more informed decision.
I can get you in, but
We can think of some questions to ask tonight.
if you go
You say-
in and things get hairy, if all of his it's complicated, right? Because if you go in and I don't pull away some of his forces, then if things get hairy, then all of his forces are going to be right there. Even if I step in, that might not make a difference at that point.
I think if we're even considering meeting with him, the expectation would be removal at least.
But if I am found to have just walked away with half of his forces after the fact, I'm probably out. My cover's blown at that point. Right?
After the fact of what? If
Well, so
nothing
if-
happens, it shouldn't matter, right? And if something happens, he'll be dead.
Well, if nothing happens, you leave, and then someone reports, hey, Zartem took us on a field trip while you were meeting with so-and-so. And then Yurt goes, what the fuck, Zartem? Why'd you take half my forces when they were supposed to be guarding the doorway?
Oh, that's fair.
You seem smarter than that. I feel like you could come up with a good reason for, you know.
He's got a big sword. It's a really big sword.
I mean, he's
I
got a
don't
big
want it
sword,
in
too.
me.
He's
either.
got a big sword too.
I also don't want that in me. Which is why I didn't start an altercation to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that tracks.
All right. So
I gotta
we
cut in.
wait.
I gotta cut in just to because this is like the 17th time Jay has said "all right, so," and I feel like every time Jay's like, "all right,
Well-
so," like he's gonna list it all out, but it
It's
never ends up
fine.
being
It's-
a thing.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was like, well, we could just like. I'm just trying to figure out.
Meeting him is a risk.
Yes, meeting him is a risk.
I mean, we could bring risk. Then
That's
it's
probably
really
not a
risk.
good idea. Though
I thought he
funny.
didn't like risk specifically.
I doubt he will meet you with members of the new generation with you.
Yeah, let's maybe avoid that.
He'll see it as a direct threat.
Because we've
Alright.
got options.
I assume he knows that we're here.
He has been made aware of your presence, yes. At the moment, he is relatively ambivalent, but I assume that if you remain for much longer, he'll either demand an audience or demand heads.
Good.
Both is good.
I think maybe we don't rush into this. We need to get our bearings. And if it comes down to that, and this decree, as you just listed out, happens, before we are ready to initiate this interaction. At that, then we would expect your aid.
Well, just know if the decree comes down of bring me heads, the expectation will be for me to bring bullywugs to you, retrieve your heads, then bring them back to Yerk.
I was more referring to if he demands audience.
Sure. The first one's the easy one. I'm not worried about that one.
It doesn't go well if he does the other way to try and drag us in, or
I'll do what I can to try to persuade him for the former rather than the latter. Just, if you're gonna be doing something, try not to do anything that's gonna piss him off and make him want the second. Also, whatever it is you're concerned about that you feel like you need to do, I would do it soon. If you're gonna be around, I wouldn't expect him to wait longer than a day before he demands your presence or your death.
Yeah, I don't know. If he's amenable to working with people, I don't know why we wouldn't just go see him.
Because we've been flat out told if we don't agree to work with him, he will attempt to kill us when we go to meet.
We have no reason not to agree. It depends on what he wants. If he wants the end of the new generation, that might be an issue. But if he wants, aid in getting rid of the scourge, then that's not a problem. Like, we align.
Let's walk through that. We help him with the scourge. What does that do? Like, it makes him like us. But if we're looking to fight him in this scenario, we're already there. Like, we already got the in to see him.
Right, but
what is helping him against the scourge do?
We are not in a position to fight him. If we get in, we're still not in a position to fight him because he has a fucking dragon.
Okay.
Not a dragon.
How does defeating the scourges change that?
Because that's one last thing. Like, that's one thing we were planning to do anyways, is try to figure out what to do about the scourges, right?
Correct. I get what you're saying. It's a thing we have to do no matter what. But what I'm not understanding is why we would do that to help him.
It's not to help him. It's so that, like, if we go there with the aims of seeming like we want to help, we may then collect information that we might not have gotten from the new generation. We might have some insight. He might let us know about something that the new generation didn't tell us about. Like, there's an entire another side of the story that he could give us. If at least we don't have to help him. We can at least put up the pretense that we will, and still get something.
No one believes that.
Yeah, but I get Jay's. That's what Jay's saying, though. Not that Yerk is the good guy, but Jay's saying that you're going to talk to him. The only downside, like the only bad, is if he's like, kill the new generation, and then you guys are like, okay, think on the fly, right? But if he's like, kill the scourge,
yes, and then not do it.
Yeah, that's or if you kill the scourges. Yeah,
entirely directed at Jeremy's crack.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely,
was the entire. Yes, I agree with what you are saying, Jay. There is very much a real plausible element of additional information from this fellow.
Jay's thinking there's a high reward, low risk at this current point.
And Ezra's a little bit the other way.
What we do is we do something.
40% useful, 60% probably gonna fuck something up.
Fair enough.
Normally we're a little higher on the probably.
Zartum, at this point though, Zartum will look at you and he says, I've been away for a while. It is probably best that I return. It seems as if you've made no decision yet, but
surprise!
If you do, and you need to get in touch with me, then send a runner to me. with whatever it is you need. Just try to make sure it's one of theirs and not one of his.
At this point, I would say buy us a day. If
I'll
you can.
Do what I can.
If you can. And if you don't hear from us in the evening of the morrow, then assume we're dead.
Do we need a trigger word or anything like that? If you all just suddenly show up in the hub, a phrase that you can say like "It's go time! Get half the army out of here!"
Octobase.
Fuck you. And he turns and he walks away. Like he turns, walks over to the ledge, goes ribbit, like makes a ribbit noise and like hops into the water and swims away.
We do have a party safe word already.
You did nothing but help that whole time. You guys were mean to him.
I liked him. Nice guy.
You were a straight dick to him.
Well, he was unhelpful.
What? Okay, when is helping? Like, what is that level of finally helping to you?
I don't know. I just don't trust him.
You mean, like, not the amount of information he provided us?
He needs to be willing to wholly agree to all of your demands and requests, and
He was real cagey about stuff.
make
That's all
what
I'm saying.
happened, Captain. Whatever
You
you
also need
ask.
to give us a tangible, fungible item.
Fungible must be fungible.
I mean, this is some wizard we barely met that works in dream reading. Okay.
He hates you. He now hates Ezra.
And his entire pitch is that he gets to walk away with whatever this relic is. That reeks of power-hungry wizard.
He didn't say he wanted to walk away from it. He said he wanted to destroy it or get it out of here.
He wanted to walk away with it and take care of it.
Or destroy it.
sus.
Little column A, little column B.
I don't think
All
anybody
perspective.
here, I don't think any of us four have any intentions of him walking with the stone, right?
I don't know,
I'm just
maybe.
explaining my maybe more pointed handling of the conversation. I've read enough about power-hungry wizards and some of the awful things that they have done.
Yeah?
Anybody got a mirror for Ezra to look into real quick?
Awful things.
Power
We know
hungry.
it's coming. We know your evil ass is gonna suddenly be a super powerful wizard and murder us all. We
I've
know.
only once played an evil character,
Oh,
and
we
you all
know.
knew he was
You've
evil from the
You've been
get-go.
too sneaky this whole time. We already know it's coming.
Sneaky.
And
Every
Zach
little
yelled at
note that
me
comes in, I'm
royally
gonna keep
because
this
of
to
that
myself.
character.
They
What now?
they're gonna really hate when you make it to Dwemercore finally. There, Jake. Oh yeah.
Why are
When
you
the
spoiling
the
things?
truth is
Why-
revealed.
Why are you spoiling things, Jeremy?
I'm setting things up to not happen. Anyways,
Storytelling.
okay.
So what are we doing then?
Yeah, Zartum leaves. The dome's still up.
I don't know. We made no decisions.
I tried. I tried. I tried.
You guys,
real hard.
you guys are about 4 hours through.
Like
your...
I was this close to saying, "Fuck it, let's go kill Yerk," but then we're like, "Nope, we're gonna talk with
I
him."
really think we should not underestimate both Yerk and the Guardian.
I am very worried.
There's not like an underestimating. It's that I don't feel like that situation is going to change whether we kill the Scourge or not. Like those two aren't gonna suddenly be like, "Oh, the Scourge is dead." Bye."
Right. That like the Scourge isn't going to change that.
But Jay's saying the conversation with Yerk might get you information to change that.
Except we might not be able to walk out of there without.
Sure. I mean, that's
I
the
think
I'll
risk
just,
versus reward.
That's that's
There's a joke
my
there.
only
I
hang up.
feel like we're both saying we should go there, but we have different intentions.
Yeah, absolutely. You
So why didn't we
absolutely
just
are,
say-
and you
why-
you
so
have
why
been
didn't
for
we
the
just
last
say
30
we'll
minutes.
go there.
I mean, Ezra was in the opposite camp.
Ezra didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
Correct.
As Ezra wants to figure some stuff out first.
Have the night to.
Speaking
we
of
still
which,
have the night anyways.
speaking of which, you guys are about 4 hours through your long rest. So, if you want to continue that and complete it, you can easily do so.
I would like to do so.
And we can just assume that there's a lot of conversation that happens during that time. So, continue with all of the conversation.
I love this long and short rest button. It is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I have not really experimented with it.
I am
don't have
disappointed in
that
you,
button.
Jay. I thought you were.
All right, you have to hit the gear at the top right, and then on the right column, first panel at the bottom, there's a short long rest. You can toggle it on.
Real gamers don't
Interesting.
need a toggle.
And then once you do that,
I'm gonna
go
toggle
like
you.
so. When you click it, it already takes care of everything. I'm assuming it takes care of spell slots. I don't have spell slots on this character, so I don't know. But if you go through all your class resources, there's going to be a gear at the top right, and if you toggle that on and make sure you assign each one to short or long, it'll fill those up appropriately when you hit the right button. It'll also take care of your HP, take care of your hit dice. It's fucking, it just does it. Button.
Wait, so are we doing a long rest right now or a short rest?
Long.
Yeah, you
Okay.
guys
We
already
were
did a
already
short
halfway
rest,
through.
and then you were already halfway through a long rest because you were waiting on Zartem to show up. So you guys can just do the last 4 hours of your long rest and finish that up if you so choose.
We are not near dawn, though, right?
No! Long rest will end, if you guys decide to finish the long rest will end at like 9 p.m.
Got it.
Yeah, you guys are back off the sleep cycle.
Okay.
Pureto.
I grab drink.
Okay. So is there any conversation that needs to happen while you guys are finishing your long rest, i.e., so you can figure out where the fuck you're going when you're done with your long rest?
Yeah, I think there are two things we need to determine.
Okay.
What the fuck are we gonna do tomorrow?
Cha-cha.
And if we decide to talk to Yerk, the fuck are we gonna ask him? It'd be nice to go ahead and list out a few questions.
Sounds like
Have
some...
the-
And really, my train of thought was, let's not lock it in now. Let's take some time and talk with the information we were given from Clown Boy. And then if in the morning we decide, hey, or in the evening or whatever the fuck time it is, we decide, no, that's the first thing we want to do, then we send a runner and do it. If not, we have a day that we can do something else if there is something higher priority. Let's talk it through before we just blindly walk into...
Okay, start talking.
The Hydra is there and is, at everything we understand, unequivocally dedicated to Yerk.
So
At
if
the
we
given
go, we
moment.
don't want to fight it.
And it has been made abundantly clear it is important and to be unscathed as best as possible.
So for specification, because I'm trying to translate in my mind what you guys are saying and talking about, you're saying is very important to the Blacktongue tribe. The Hydra is very important to them, and it's important to them that the Hydra not be harmed.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it's important to Yerk and the forces or if it's just a tool to keep the Black Tongue.
Sure, yeah, that's why I'm trying to specify exactly what you're saying about who, right? So that I have well within my mind what y'all are discussing. Okay? Alright, sounds like that's a problem. What are y'all gonna do about that?
Good question.
Okay, so
Between
I feel like we
that
need a big
issue,
chalkboard.
right? Between that issue and it wasn't resounding, but it was definitely pointed out as possible. If Yerk's main priority is going after Blacktongue. I don't think any of us are okay with that. And that means there is at least some semblance of a chance that we don't get to walk out of there.
Lie. If he says, like, I demand you go kill New Generation, we'll just say, okay, walk away, and then not do it.
You guys can use a whiteboard if you want. For a visual representation that everyone can see.
Jay's the artiste.
But
Oh,
if
am
we
I?
do that, do you think we're getting back to him without facing his
Oh, no,
entire
absolutely
forces?
not. No, 100% not.
Those are the two big things that are made me not willing to immediately say, yes, let's go meet him in the morning. Let's talk through and make sure we're all on the same page. And maybe there is something else we can do. If there's not, then let's figure out how that conversation is going to go so we give ourselves the best chance possible.
I think Yerk is the most important thing to take care of right now.
Okay. What are the important pieces of information, and what are we willing to concede or offer to
What's happening here?
give a show of faith?
What faith? I have no faith. Faith in what?
So when you go into a conversation with Yerk, what's the plan? Is Jake's basically trying to figure out? Like,
So, I'm not going to say I'm going to hurt any Blacktongue. I will say that we'll fight for the Scourge, or fight against the Scourge. For the Scourge. I will fight. I will fight the Scourge.
so you're saying Matashtai is unwilling to lie about fighting against the Blacktongue?
Correct.
Okay. So not
Good
just
choice.
like won't obviously like it doesn't sound like anyone in the party wants to fight against the Blacktongue, but Matashtai is saying like he's unwilling to even lie about it.
Like, if he's... Here's my thought process. If he's calling in random adventurers as they happen to walk by and try to talk to him and saying, go kill these guys.
That he knows, saved, and recently just brought back one of. He's not that dumb.
No. I don't think there's any negotiating with that kind of evil.
Or stupid.
Or stupid. So, if that's something you ask, you guys can lie. I just won't talk. We can try to leave, but I don't think we're getting back in.
How many heads does a Hydra have, Jay?
However many heads you need it to have. However many heads you give it.
So, that was the other thing, is I can try talking to the Hydra. Don't know how it'll work. Never talked to a Hydra before. But
I'll probably be fine.
I can do that while you guys are talking with Yerk and see what happens. If my mind explodes, sorry, but...
If your
So-
mind explodes, holy shit. Woo! I mean,
I'd be more worried about your connection agitating the creature, but that's
It's entirely a possibility. But you think Yerk's going to explain how the Hydra's under his control?
no, of course not.
Mm.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just that's just one of those things that as I'm listing off the what could go wrong scenario that I always do. That's one of them. That's
Matashtai makes
Well,
contact with
think
the
about what
Hydra, and the
could go
Hydra goes,
right.
"Ah!"
yeah. I like to be prepared for the wrong.
Let's plan for the right.
The
Let's
stone
say
giant
walking
approach.
there.
I like it.
But yeah, like if I guess I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that if he asks us to go kill the Scourges, and we say, yeah, we'll go kill the Scourges, how does that help the situation between Yerk and the Black Tongues?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. We say we sure will. What are you gonna do to help us?
Yeah, it's like a negotiating scenario then, so you can try to get something out of Yerk at that point. Whether that be information or whether that be assistance and I mean obviously like it's a lie or potential. I say a lie. It might not even be a lie. Technically, you know, you could.
So it is an upgrade to the heart of the mountain, and
you
so
could
the
enter
thing
into an
that
agreement with
Black-
Yerk and then go defeat the Scourges
Sorry, what
and
was
then
that
get
about
something out
upgrading
of
the
it.
heart of the mountain? What do you say?
But,
Yeah, exactly.
But so the Black Tongues have already said that what they want is Yerk gone.
Sure.
Yeah, we want Yerk gone too. He's a jerk.
yes. Well, that's what we're told.
I think the generalized hope is that a conversation with Yerk will reveal some sort of information that you guys were not aware of that might change the dynamic in some sort of way and give you other options.
My whole
Right.
point about agreeing to fight the Scourges is that, like, he will obviously have to provide some sort of assistance. If it's a deadlock and we're meant to break the deadlock, it can't just be us. It has to be his plus us. So, you know, obviously that weakens his position, in which, you know, then we can come back and take care of the problem. I don't think anyone's saying we're not going to kill Yerk.
But as leader of the Black Tongue, couldn't he just be like, you, all the friends of the new generation, you go fight. I'll keep my forces here.
Well, obviously then we would have to speak with our friends.
I think we need to talk regardless. I'm just saying, I don't really see how the conversation
Mitch
goes
is-
in any way other than us having to fight him.
I mean, I'm down to
that's
fight
what
him.
he's
I'm just
expecting.
saying
Yeah.
that, like, what is your plan to deal with the Hydra? Because I don't currently have one.
I don't currently have one either. That's why I'm saying we do need to have the conversation. I'm just saying I don't think I see it leaving the conversation.
And that's literally my only problem, is if we had any way to, like, put it to sleep. Or,
like,
I don't know,
I'll walk up
close
and
its
stun
little
it
cage
for
or something.
11 rounds.
Matashtai just stuns it every round over. Everyone
I'll
else is
literally-
fighting
I'll
Yerk,
do- I'll
and
do
it's just
nothing but
Matashtai
stun.
fighting this Hydra.
Oh,
Stun!
well.
Just stun!
Everything I know about Hydra says that's probably not going to work. But, I mean, you're down to try it.
Fuck. I'm
Definitely one of those monsters that Jeremy made stun him.
I'm invested. Actually, I need to go check. Did I do that? You guys feel free to continue. I'm checking a monster. Y'all have fun.
At this point, I do not care, though, and I just want to do literally anything.
Yeah, we've been in the planning stage too long for Zach.
I'm going to be completely honest. I would love to level up before this conversation, but
Okay, well, let's go fight some people.
like we're right on the precipice, and there's a couple of things that could be real useful that I'm planning on.
Isn't that so nice? You guys being right on the cusp. It's almost as if there's just a quest right here begging to be completed so that you can then level up.
Which one is that?
This whole factionalism thing.
I thought we were only like 50 XP off.
Oh, y'all aren't like 50 XP off. I think y'all are like 2,000 XP off or something like that, right? I could be wrong though. I don't know.
1,520. Well, you and I are 1,500. Or 1,520 off.
So that means
We're like
Matashtai.
1,600 off.
Yeah. So, 15 to 2K. So, yeah. Close, but not just like go fight a random encounter close.
Right. Yeah.
You know? And before you guys literally just walk out in the swamp and you're just like, all right, we stand here and we fight we just yell and we fight everything that comes to us for the next like
Start triggering that tension tracker.
Yeah, right? I will say this. Because again, this is a scenario of your obviously you guys are playing from the concept here of like it'd be nice to level up, which is a player decision versus
entirely me.
versus
That
a
was
character decision.
entirely me.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to criticize it. But so I will say, because your characters might have better memories being in the situation, right? There is a force. There are other forces aside from Yerk and the Scourges, right?
Apparently, we don't want to talk to the mages either.
Well, so there.
Ezra really wants to go to that.
There's the mages, and then yeah, there you go. Ezra's other thing. There's the Queen of Bones, which is technically unaligned, right? Like if you were to start messing around with that, you might find a different situation or a different avenue. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not trying to hint at anything. I'm just reminding you of previous conversations that you guys have had about what you want to do. So if that is if the trying to do some stuff to level up is a concern, that's one of the other things that you had talked about doing previously. Whether or not that actually gets you any experience, though, is a different question.
I think the more and more I think about it, my counter offer to us just immediately running into this Yerk encounter is that we... That's wanted. That we skirt around their territory and go to this memory temple or whatever the hell it was called. And try and get some information on the Sethians.
Awesome, great plan. Let's do that. I wholeheartedly throw my support behind this.
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha.
And if nothing else, that gives us information that there's a good chance, hopefully, that Yerk doesn't have.
And I mean, the flip side is if it doesn't give you any information on the front of the whole Yerk Blacktongue tribe thing, it's still something that you were wanting to do. And if you get called into a meeting with Yerk after that point, okay, well, you're at a meeting with Yerk after that point, whatever. The only potential downside is if you canter off to do a adventure and you get yourselves banged up, and then before you can rest, they're like, okay, Yerk wants to see you. You know?
Yep, that is the gamble that we're dealing with.
Cool.
So there's lots of discussions that happen throughout the rest of the 4 hours, right? As you all are resting, healing up wounds, taking meals, and generally just trying to figure out what the fuck you guys are actually going to do, because there's so many layers in this particular instance, right? But as it comes close to that point, you kind of have a generalized concept of you do need to have a conversation with Yerk, but maybe you don't rush into that conversation just yet. Obviously, during that conversation with Yerk, it's important that you not kill Zetlal, the Hydra, right? But there are certain stipulations, and you're going to have to be careful about where the conversation with Yerk goes. But the hope is that something in that conversation, either from Yerk or maybe from Matashtai talking with the Hydra, is able to give you a new branch, a new opportunity. And in the meantime, before doing that, if you guys so choose, you can go seek out some other information, in particular, this memory area that happens to pertain to the Queen of Bones. So, as you guys are ending... Go ahead. What's up?
Because of all this conversation, do we lose the chance to do our downtime activities during our long rest?
I would say generally, yeah. This is one of those scenarios where, like, the long rest, you guys gain the benefits of the long rest, but it's actually not especially restful, right? In point of fact, I need a Constitution saving throw from everyone.
21.
21.
Constitution.
Yes.
Of course.
It's
I love you, Jay, so much.
It's like I can count on it, Jay. It's like I can just count on it to happen.
Safe bet.
Oh my god, I love it. Okay, so that is going to be something that we deal with later. Before we head off, though, Jay, did you do all of this wonderful artwork for us?
I
Yes?
drew the yellow obelisk.
You drew the yellow obelisk. Thank you very much. Jay, do you already have DM inspiration?
I used it failing something.
You can regain DM inspiration.
Oh, cool. There's a little animation when you click it.
The
doesn't just-
DM inspiration?
Yeah, when you click the little dragon icon,
Very nice.
it goes zoop.
Mitch, you get like 1/10 of an inspiration for your little yellow obelisk. I love that eye roll. I love it. Oh, shit. I think you already have inspiration anyways, though. I do currently
have it.
So fuck off with that noise. Get out of here. Alright, we are going to go to break, and when we get back, the party is going to do something. They're going to venture forth doing
No guarantees.
something. No guarantees. Yeah, when we get back, we will see what happens then. Thanks for watching. Be back in a few.
Goodbye forever.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.